The funding climate is worse than it's been in quite a long time. Money needs to go to other places in the government, and the NIH, which really supports about 2/3 of the biomedical research in the country, isn't growing anymore. So researchers come in, and we are able to give them research support for their first 3 years and hope that in that time they're able to get grants. It turns out that the hardest time to get a grant is not the first time you apply, but after that grant is running out, 3, 4, 5 years later. Those people have the worst chance, statistically, of getting another grant. It's something really wrong with the system. We get people started, and then we make it hard for them to continue at that crucial juncture. So as an institution, we have to provide them the money to get started. We have to help them get funding from other sources. And then we have to make sure that the funding doesn't run out. One of the things we're trying to do now is educate researchers on how important it is to apply for different kinds of funding. So in the days when the NIH was providing most of the funding for research, if you needed more funding, you'd write another NIH grant. Well, now as the NIH is down below 10% of the grants getting funded, you can't rely on that. And it takes so much time. It can take a month to write an NIH grant. Well, if you have to write 3 or 4 a year, you can see, big portion of your year has gone away. So what we need to do is educate our young scientists on what are the other sources of money. And there are several. There is other federal agencies. So the NIH isn't the only federal agency. There are defense agencies, agencies like the Center for Disease Control, environmental agencies. Not all the agencies are suffering to the same extent that the NIH is. So we have to go to other federal support. Then there are foundations, large foundations like the Cancer Society and Heart Association. We've known about those for a long time. People do a good job of applying. One thing that we can get better at is attracting money from corporations. It's a very small percentage. I think it's around 3% of our funding comes from corporations. And yet the opportunities as biotech and the pharmaceutical industry grows in Boston to do this kind of collaboration is growing, and we have to be able to take advantage of it. And the final one is philanthropy. This past year, 15% of our research expenditures, the amount of money we spend on research, 15% came from philanthropy. That's the highest that it's ever been, and we, can only hope and imagine that that's going to grow. I've gone and given talks in various places to young scientists. Sometimes the NIH has, asked me to go and do that. And I ask for a show of hands as to how many has ever applied for money outside the NIH. And of 100 people, maybe 3 will raise their hands. So I often liken this to my daughter, who, as a teenager, if she needed extra money, the first thing she would do was come to me. And if I said no, then she would have to go and babysit or do something else to make money. We have gotten, as a country, to think about the NIH as mom or dad. And it's the first place we go when we're looking for money. We can't do it anymore. All right? Mom and dad are going through hard times. They're running out of money. And we have to go discover other ways, other interested parties who want to see research done. And that's what we're trying to do.